Hey everybody, welcome back to Off the Wall. I'm Mike.
And I'm Sol.
So a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Walsh or Jimmy Page?
Joe Walsh, 100%.
Yeah, of the two, definitely Joe Walsh.
Yes.
Glenn
I love
Tipton overall, but
the Eagles.
yeah.
I listened to Hotel California today.
I mean, it's
all you have to say.
Banger. It's a banger. It's an absolute banger. His solo stuff is also excellent. And if you haven't seen the video of him and everybody else playing, or no, that wasn't him. That was somebody else. Ignore me. Move on. Anyway, we're talking about this episode of Ted Lasso, Locker Room Affoir. I can't speak French, but that's the name of the episode. Directed by Erica Dunton, written by Chuck Hayward. This is Erica Dunton's fourth episode directing Ted Lasso across the last two seasons, and the four she's directed have been some of the best of the show. In season 2, she directed the episode Rainbow, which is the one where Keely and Rebecca are trying to teach Nate how to be more assertive. She also directed the one after that, which is The Signal, where everybody, flipped off Jamie to let him know it's time to be an asshole. But that also results in the moment with Jamie's dad and the hug.
We also got a flip off today to Jamie.
She also directed last week's episode, We'll Never Have Paris, which was the heartbreaking episode surrounding Keely's leaked stuff. So Erica Dunton knows how to write some absolute banger or direct some absolute banger episodes, and Chuck Hayward's script on this was absolutely fantastic. What a not a laugh out loud episode, but this is definitely one of the more emotional ones that had me making some butt diamonds a few times because I was tense. How'd you feel about it?
I love the way that this show subverts your expectations on what you think is going to happen. We've talked about it in previous episodes where you think when Jamie finds out that Keely and Roy had broken up that he's going to go talk to Keely, and he goes to talk to Roy and all those other things. I don't know if you can hear how loud that is outside, that someone's listening to music in their car outside. I don't know if you can hear it, but that's what's happening right now. But the fact that you think that the reason why McAdoo is not being good with oh my god, I'm forgetting his name. Colin is because he's gay, and even you have it shouldn't have to be this way, but sometimes it takes time for people to get used to it. But that's not why he was pissed. He's pissed because he's like, I'm your best friend and you kept this from me, and how can we really be friends if you keep something this big from me? What is it about me that made you think you couldn't share this part of your life with me? And I love that they did that. And I just love that the show continues to do things like that, where it's just like, oh, you're subverting what you think is going to happen.
Yeah. Especially because you have that moment at the beginning with Trent where Colin tells him, he's like, he knows and he's behaving this way. And Trent tells him, he's like, look, you've had the privilege, for lack of a better word, of knowing your whole life you were gay. Some people need a minute. And Trent is one who knows that all too well, because as we learned in the Amsterdam episode, he had to come out to his ex-wife twice, because the first time she just didn't believe him. So I've loved the exploration of Trent this season. I really have. But yeah, and that conversation that they kind of gets recycled in the end moment with him and McAdoo when they're just playing video games and just hanging out. And he's like, you've had the pleasure of knowing you were gay for 20 years. He's like, no, I've known since birth. Like the moment I was out of my mom, I
never look back.
This just gets such a look from Trent of just like, okay. But yeah, the handling of because most people at some point in their life have had someone come out to them. And I can't even imagine what that kind of stress might be, I talked over with this person before I told this story, so they know. So my cousin is openly a lesbian. I knew before a lot of the rest of the family did. She was nervous about coming out because our family, for the most part, is very Catholic, conservative, kind of old school kind of way. And so she was nervous about coming out to everybody. And when she did, everyone reacted lovingly and supportively and beautifully. And that made my heart very happy. But I can't imagine what it's like to have that fear to tell the people closest to you something so personal, because to put it in Colin's language, like 99% sure you're gonna be okay. That 1% of me that's not sure
terrified me.
And so nothing was more telling than when McAdoo jumped on the fan, the guy in the stands, where he's just like, oh, is this how it was? Almost like he had a moment of like, oh, is that how I sound? Like, is this hearing that? Yeah.
To me, like, at first, before you know his reasoning, you think, oh, like, this is something of a sense of like, oh, is that how I sound? But then when you find out his reasoning for being mad, it goes, no, that's him protecting his best friend.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like, I don't know any professional athletes, but I'm pretty sure some of them have wanted to beat the shit out of some fans. And I'm using it in quotations because I've even, like, with there's a player that plays for Leeds, Patrick Bamford, and I call him Bumford because he's a bum. So I'm sure if he ever heard me actually saying, he might want to slap me.
even other fans like get very protective. I'm here in Dayton, Ohio, which is right outside Cincinnati. You know, the Cincinnati Bengals have been doing pretty well the last couple of years. I mean, they went to the Super Bowl, for crying out loud. Prior to that, for the long time, people called them the Bungles. And somebody at the news station I was working at one point didn't call them specifically, like didn't call them the Bungles, but made a reference to the legacy of being the Bungles. Our Facebook page blew up from Bengals fans just because just saying that word sent the fans into a tizzy. So yeah, fan bases, look, I love Star Wars. Star Wars fans suck. Okay. Fan bases can be pretty shit sometimes.
And English fans, when it comes to football, they cray.
Football fans in general. I mean, y'all
American or
European. Sports fans in general, really, is what I'm getting at. Like, I tell stories on stage about like my grandma being a Cleveland Guardians fan and people down here boo, and I'm like, she lives there. She's allowed to be a fan of the team in the town where she lives. Asshole.
She's just watching for the tushies.
She is watching for the tushies. That's not a lie either. That is 100% true. But yeah, it's because the moment, as soon as that moment happens where he jumps on the fan, it's like you can tell internally he's like, I'm angry, I'm processing, but no, like as angry as I am, I'm not going to let that fly. But also in that moment, that lets the audience know, oh, okay, it's not
something else.
It's something else. I thought for a moment, he was going to also come out as being gay. Like, but as opposed to Colin, who had kind of just, for lack of a better phrase, settled into a routine of keeping it a secret, that maybe McAdoo just had not come to terms with his own sexuality yet. They didn't go that route. They went the route that I was like, they're probably going to be where he just feels weird about it because it's a new thing.
I thought for a moment that he was pissed that he was being called a faggot. Like, you know how like straight men get about being called gay?
Yeah.
Like I thought for a second, like it was that, and I was like, no, it's something else.
Yeah.
Like the way that he acted after that. But for a second, I was just like, oh, this is like even going further into the bigotry, you know?
Yeah. Everything about the locker room was that whole entire sequence, like whether it's McAdoo coming in after getting red carded, whether it's the conversation the team has in general, just about the word and the language and all that, whether it's McAdoo, storming out and going to the kit room and having a truly fantastic scene with Roy.
Yeah.
That, as short as that exchange was, it was incredible.
And we got a lot of Roy stuff without getting a lot of Roy stuff this episode.
We got a lot of the other side of Roy this episode. Like we are exploring other parts of Roy's personality, because Roy as a character, the way he's been written and portrayed thus far, has been delightful. But you also have to be careful not to cross that line of becoming a one-note character. It avoids being typecast. So I'm wondering how much of that was a writing choice, how much of that was a Brett Goldstein choice, or even Erica Dunton, the director's choice. But
I mean, we've seen him be more than just what his stereotypical character is.
But it was like front and center this episode.
Yeah. What I really like, and I've said this before in a previous thing, is that it was very important for Roy to be the one to tell Rebecca, don't settle for fine.
Yeah.
Because if Keely would have said it, or if that's her best friend, like if someone else would have said it, but the fact that it came from Roy, which Roy is not going to mince his feelings. He's going to tell you the truth, and he doesn't care what you think about it when he tells you the truth, and how important it was for Roy to be the one to say it. And I said, it's going to be equally important when Rebecca tells Roy something, and we got that payoff in this episode, because we got a little bit of it when like Keely's going off with Jack to go see the Northern Lights, and Rebecca gives a little
she's going off with somebody you think she deserves, or they deserve her.
Yeah, right. And the fact that Rebecca's like, what do you want? Kind of like to him, and then later seeing like him going from like, he was told by the big boss to do a press thing, and he said nah. And so
it was I actually
did it later.
In that sequence, when that happens, I had two thoughts go through my head, which was, one, we don't see a lot of Roy and Rebecca interacting like one-on-one. We genuinely don't, because in that moment I was like, they don't interact very often. This is actually kind of nice to see this interaction with them. But also, I got the feeling like Rebecca had been wanting to say something like this for a long time, but was like politely and professionally keeping her distance. And now it was kind of a way for her to be like, now I have an excuse to spill some tea.
Roy is Roy, but Rebecca's about to be Rebecca.
Also, let it be known
that Roy does not have
a hairy ass.
but the French guy does.
But the French guy does. The fact he was so offended that no one defended him. He was like, everyone in here knows.
And McAdoo was just like, yeah, we're cowards.
No one said anything.
He's right. We're all cowards.
We're all cowards. It was so I love
every single one of you knows.
Single one of you, not a damn one of you said anything. But I did really like that like she sized him down a little bit.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, it's like, you got to remember, you work for me. Like when push comes to shove, I'm your boss.
Yeah, I'm not just your ex's best friend. I'm your boss.
Yeah. I'm your boss. And because you even had him getting caught a couple times in the beginning where she was asking him to do it. And at first he had that knee-jerk reaction of, fuck no. Wait, nope, wait, can't do that here. Nope. Having to catch himself, because he's just, because again, we don't see them interact a lot. They probably don't interact a whole lot.
Probably the only really real interaction that they had like beforehand was going on like double dates or anything of that nature, where Roy was a pundit at that time, so Roy could be whoever the fuck he wanted to be. He didn't have to be her employee, which he's now.
Yeah, and when he was on the team, up until she took over the team, took over from Rupert, she probably didn't interact with them a whole heck of a lot. And then when she did take over running the team, it was only for one season.
Yeah, so, and that was still in her wanting Ted to destroy everything Rupert loved. So she wasn't with the team that much.
Yeah. But I will also say, thank God Roy did disobey her at first, or else we wouldn't have gotten this legendary Coach Beard sequence about Joe Walsh versus Jimmy Page.
And Coach Beard being absolutely correct.
Absolutely correct. Fight me on the internet. I don't care. Joe Walsh is a superior guitarist to Jimmy Page. Yes. But Glenn Tipton trumps all. But I also, on the flip of that, Roy going into the interview at the end and kind of like
Trent Krim.
New Trent. Yeah, I like you better than old Trent. But also it also had me going, you remember at the beginning of the season when Keeley told Rebecca to just let Ted be Ted?
Yeah.
In this moment, we were just letting Roy be Roy.
Yeah.
He was just being himself. He was being open and honest and vulnerable. It's a kind of open, honest vulnerability that would have gotten Keeley really turned on in season 2, because we saw that happen in the episode when he retired. Yeah. He was watching the video. Still one of my favorite moments of this entire series.
The Roy in that interview is the Roy that Roy was with Keeley. Because Roy and Keeley was kind of like, those couples where like the guy is an asshole to everyone else, or is like, doesn't give a shit, doesn't really talk much to anyone else, but like adores like their girlfriend / wife, and is like
don't know what doting. He's like, the two of us.
Yeah, it's like doting and loving to like his girlfriend / wife, but to everyone else, fuck you. Like that's Roy.
That's me, honestly. I'm not good at parties, ladies. So just letting you know, I'm not great at parties, but I will go get you some punch. Okay. And I loved his entire that whole response he had for the question from douchey reporter number 7. What did he call him? 5 o'clock shadowhead or something like that.
The one who was saying Jimmy Page was better, so he had it coming.
So yeah, he absolutely had it coming because he's already wrong. But yeah, it's that idea of like, was McAdoo's response correct? No. But you can't excuse it, but you can understand it, Yeah. It's the idea of like, yeah, what McAdoo did was technically was not okay. I mean, violence, I don't think should ever be the answer personally, but at the same time, dude had it coming.
Like, and they're human.
He fucked her. The guy fucked around and found out is what happened.
Yeah. These players are human beings that make a fuck ton of money, but they're human beings nonetheless. Yeah. And that we got that story where Roy, who I didn't know that he played it for Sunderland Till I Die, but when he started up and played for Sunderland, the fact he tells a story of like he made fun of that guy's kid, saying, "Oh, statistically, it would be my kid." Like makes a joke, not knowing that he had lost his kid. And so later on in the story, like when he's like, when I went to apologize, I found that out. So none of us know what other people are going through. And I love that that's not just with sports, but that's just in life in general. Like be kind to people because you never know what people are going through.
Yeah. You never know when someone's on their last leg. You just don't know. To divert from that a little bit to kind of the B plot of the show, which is the writers continued attempt at a redemption for Nate. I'm resisting at all costs. They're doing such a good job. I want to be clear. They are doing an amazing job at the redemption of Nate. I'm resisting because I'm a bitter little bitch. Okay. But first of all, I hate how much I love his and Jade's relationship. I really do.
Yeah, it's very cute. It's very cute. I didn't know she was Polish. We find that out this episode.
I didn't catch that either. But I'm not great with dialect, so that's that's the American in me. The American in me. It's all I am.
Don't you have a little bit of like an Irish Catholic?
I mean, I'm Irish on my dad's side. I'm German Catholic on my mom's side. I'm white. So I loved the moment at the bar where Rupert, the veil that Rupert has over Nate is falling.
Yeah.
Because up until now, Nate didn't have anybody. He felt like he was on his own.
Yeah.
Now he's got love in his life. He's got another person to think about. And Nate knows damn well that Rupert's married with a kid, and he knows his history. He knows the reputation.
And has a girlfriend. He has a wife, a child, and a girlfriend.
And a reputation. And for the first time, Nate, I think, is the rose-tinted glasses are off or coming off, because I think Nate realizes in this moment, yeah, no, I can't be here. I'm turning.
And Rupert was already drunk too.
Yeah.
You could tell.
And you could also tell that Nate was realizing, like, I'm on the verge of becoming Rupert if I keep this up. And I was real worried for a sec. I was like, Nate, leave. If you stay, this doesn't end well for you. Jade will find out, and then you are supremely fucked.
The thing that makes me think even more so that Nate is gonna have a redemption arc is because Nate has an iPhone. And no, literally. So Apple does not allow villains to have iPhones. Like, they don't allow it. So if you use an iPhone in their movie, like, you have to be a good person or a hero or an anti-hero. You're not allowed to have an iPhone if you're a villain.
I have one pushback on that. And that's when Nate texts Rupert, his messages go through blue, which means Rupert has an iPhone.
Well, we haven't actually seen Rupert's iPhone.
We don't see him use it, but based on Apple's own technology, Rupert has an iPhone.
They bypassed that. They're like,
you just change the color theme or some shit. Apparently, that's a feature you can only get in the UK if you play for a football team. But also, I got nervous at the top of this episode because I was like, "Oh, Rupert's gonna make a move on Jade."
Oh, me too. I thought that too.
Oh, and I don't know what it was, but because I was watching,
and Jade would have slapped the shit out of him.
Jade looked like she wanted to slap the shit out of him. Like, I got the very distinct feeling that she was like being polite to Rupert for the sake of her boyfriend's job.
Yeah,
I have the distinct feeling she wanted very much to tell Rupert to go fuck himself, because Rupert's got a reputation. It's public. Everyone knows he's a manho. It's not a secret.
And she has a boyfriend that's in the public figure. If you don't think that she has Googled Nate's ass, who he used to work for, and the whole thing between Rebecca and Rupert, she knows all of that. For sure, she's Googled everything. So,
for sure. And also, she knows from how much time she spent with Nate, even prior to them dating, he is a puppy.
Yeah,
he is like just tiny
running into
doors. Yeah. He is a puppy on coke on not even on cocaine, on like Quaaludes, running into doors and just stumbling around, hoping to God he goes through the right door. Like, he is harmless. He's a bit of a jackass, but he's harmless.
Yeah,
and so she sees a guy like Rupert, and her reaction is probably, I hope to God my boyfriend doesn't turn into this guy.
Yeah. I don't think she was thinking that yet. She was probably at that moment going, what a creep.
Also, yes.
Because you can kind of tell that he was like trying to flirt a little, like trying to be charming. And sometimes that works and you're like, oh, what a charming older man. And sometimes you're like, what a fucking creep.
Well, plus you got to figure, like, before, like, the way him and Jade kind of got together was Rupert took Nate to this, private club or whatever, to this bar, set him up with this model.
Yeah.
Nate, for all intents and purposes, blows it with the model and winds up having a moment of getting to get close to Jade.
Yeah.
And that's where the relationship begins. And now cut to Rupert saying, I said, in his face, I set you up with a model. And you're dating a hostess from a restaurant. Because everything's all about status for Rupert,
But Rupert also married a waitress in Rebecca.
Did.
Well, not waitress.
Well, she was a cocktail waitress, wasn't she? Like a bartender or a bartender?
A bartender, yeah.
But it's not until Rupert finds out Nate's got a girlfriend in his life, like a surprise you with lunch at work girlfriend, that he's like, let's go have a guys' night together. Almost like he's trying to continue to corrupt him. Like, oh no, it's like the Emperor. I'm losing control of my apprentice. Let me push him more back towards the dark.
Notice the only times he talks to him after the girlfriend. He talks to him saying, I'll make sure Ted never comes back again. When Ted and his son are there. Like, it's literally like just to keep him even more and more isolated. So that way it's just him and Rupert. And Rupert only gives him attention when it seems like Nate's gonna go away.
Especially because when you remember over the last 2 seasons what we've learned about his relationship with Rebecca, she talked, we know that, like, from Sassy, like, once her and Rupert got together, nobody ever saw Rebecca again. She never hung out. She never spent any time with anybody. She stopped having fun. She suddenly just became, she stopped being Rebecca and just became Rupert's wife.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the way Rupert approaches all of his relationships, which is, if you're in with me, you're in with me.
I can do what I want, but you are with me only.
Yeah, you're my shadow. You follow me where I go, not the other way around. But the episode essentially ending with kind of 2 relationships being reaffirmed in Nate and Jade, because he says, no, you know what, Rupert, I'm out, and leaves and goes straight to Jade and just gives her a hug, because he just like, I just wanted to be here with you. We then cut to McAdoo going to Colin's place, and they have their moment that ends with one of the funniest conversations, I think. Yes. Just because
put my head down and think of global warming.
Yeah, but I got some weird looks at the office because I'm sitting there silent with my headphones on, and I just go but also going to be like, yeah, but like, if I knew I was in a room showering with a bunch of women, I would get a boner.
And I love too, where he was just like, oh, who's the fittest? Like, who is the hottest in on our team? He's like, not gonna tell you, wouldn't even guess. And then he goes, Bumper Cash. And he's like, yes.
Yeah.
How did you know?
It's almost, everyone's just kind of like, yeah, it's weird, isn't it? But also, I also love because I think Nate really wants to tell Jade he loves her.
Yeah.
And because he's trying to, he's a guy like me. I know how I get in relationships. I can sometimes be a bit much. I can sometimes move a little too fast or come on a little too strong. So as an adult with that level of self-awareness, I try to pull the reins on myself. And we saw this from Nate when him and Jade slept together that time, where he was like, what do I call this? Like, he was very insecure about being too serious. And then when he was just kind of like, no, you know what? We're a thing. I like you.
It was her who called
her, rather, yeah.
Yeah, it was her who called her, oh, my boyfriend. And I think too, she's kind of like the perfect girlfriend for him, because she sees him trying not to be himself and try to cover his feelings, and she's like, I see your bullshit. I'm gonna just sit here and stare at you until you figure it out. Like, you dumb motherfucker, I love you too.
And we get that juxtaposed with Colin and McAdoo, and Colin just being like, I love you, man. And McAdoo's just like, And he's just like, "You're not going to say it, are you?" "You know I do, though, right?" "Yeah, that's fine."
Yeah, it's like, you can't say that. It goes, no, it goes.
But you know,
yeah. Yeah, and it's so cute. I loved it.
great.
We didn't actually talk though about Ted's speech at the end, in the locker room.
Oh, so I was saving that for last. So, Ted's.
I love Ted.
I love Ted. Ted's locker room speech about, after Colin comes out to everybody, which I will say, I actually appreciated that Colin came out.
The fuck's a Denver Bronco?
I love the return of Jamie's. It's all just pewpeh.
Yeah.
But I appreciated that Colin came out off camera, that it wasn't on screen. Because to me, that's one of those, even in the nature of this episode, we don't need to see it because we know. But also, it's like that, thinking of them as people, not characters, that's just for them.
Yeah.
That's a private enough thing. That's like, we don't need to see him struggle with the words to come out. Like that's one of those things that's like, that can just be for them.
Yeah.
What was more, because also, honestly, what was more important, that sounds shitty when I say it out loud, but was everyone's reaction to him coming out. Because we immediately cut back to everybody just going like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Cool, and cool. I love the conversation between we don't care and we care. Kind of thing, because all of them, we don't care that you're gay, and then it's just like, no, we do care because we care about you.
Yeah,
we don't care in a way of like, oh, you're gay, weird. Like, we care in the like, you're no longer alone, and his facial expression of he's not alone anymore, because the only people who knew were the people that he was dating, and Trent. Yeah. Other than that, like, his friends, I'm pretty sure his family probably doesn't know. So like, and even too later when like he was asked like, are you going to tell everyone? No, the team knows, that's enough. Kind of the fact that now he's not alone, that he doesn't have to keep that part of himself hidden from the people that he's around day in and day out. And I love are you comparing being gay to being a Denver Broncos fan?
Yeah, I got where he was coming from. And
it was a great speech. It was a great speech.
Great speech,
but it was hilarious.
It was, but also like, there is that little part that's just kind of like, Ted, you're so close to being.
You're like, oh wow, you're so Midwestern, Ted.
Oh man, you're so close to saying the right thing. It's like you're so close. Because as soon as he says, he's like, did you just compare? Yeah, God, I know, I hated it as soon as I started.
So sorry. And then I love, Jamie, the fuck's a Denver Bronco? And then he was like, oh, American football. I fumbled on that. And I was like, do British people know the word fumble?
I thought the same thing. I was like, he can't help himself, this poor bastard. But also, I mean, he got the idea for total football watching an old Bulls game from the 90s.
Yeah. So. I mean, Bulls in the 90s were great. But we need to ask Bogz, be like, Bogz, what does fumble mean to you?
Yeah. Like is that a thing? But this was just an excellent, well-written, well-handled episode of this show. I think I posted on Facebook afterwards. I was just like, this show has like no business being this good. It's almost like, if I'm a show writer or something like that, and I'm watching this show, my first thought is I should just quit because I'm not writing this. This is the bar now. I quit because I get that way.
Something to us. I think a more glass half full. There's something to aspire to.
I'm a comic. I have to be cynical. Whenever it's a running joke of comedy when you go see like a pro do a headline show somewhere and you watch them and they're so funny and creative. You're just like, I should just quit comedy. I don't watch comedy specials anymore. Like I haven't watched a comedy special in years. They make me want to quit because I'm just like, I can't do it. I'm not that funny.
Because I know that I will never be a comedian. I watch a lot of comedy specials.
I know. It's a lot of comics do. I'm weird about it, but that's another story. But yeah, I feel so weird talking about how well written this is, while we're in the middle of the writer's strike, which has halted a lot of productions. Pay your fucking writers, people.
It's not hard. Well, Amanda Seyfried said it's not fucking hard. She said it best.
Yeah. it's really not that fucking hard. Look, I'll put it to you like this. I went and saw one of the local theaters here was doing The Odd Couple a few weeks ago, and I went and saw it. And it was fine. The two leads, it kept forgetting a lot of their lines, so it was a little rough. But I still found myself laughing at all the jokes because ultimately the jokes were well written. They were really fun. When you watch a comedy show or movie, yes, a lot of it is in the delivery, but ultimately it has to be a well-written joke.
Right.
And the same with like the emotional moments. It's not like, yes, the dramatic acting, like Ted's speech, things like that, or Roy's moments in the locker room or in the press conference, but they have to be well written first.
Yeah.
We say that all the time when we talk about a bad movie or a bad show, like an actor is doing the best they can with what they got.
Right.
It ultimately comes down to the script. And so pay your fucking writers, people.
Right.
And stop using AI. Stop it. Just stop it. Stop it. I shouldn't have to say that, but stop it. That's
only use AI to I follow this podcast and they explicitly say that it's AI beforehand to not like spread misinformation, but they do an AI Joe Biden.
Sure.
And it's like sure. And so it's Joe Biden's voice, like just saying wild shit. And that's funny.
If you're doing it for a bit for something like that, I can live with it. But stop using AI to write shit.
Exactly.
But anyway, we're not here. We're not here to do we're pro WGA. Pay your fucking writers. That's the long short of it.
Going to Roy too with McAdoo, just like saying like the when you attacked goes, it wasn't what he said. It was something else, and even Roy could tell that it was something else that got him like that angry. He goes, you need to fix that. Other ways, like you will lose everything you love and care about. And 100% he's speaking about Keeley there. And so I kind of have a little hope that they're gonna get back together.
Me too. Because I'm still not happy about that. I'm not over it, writers, directors, whoever.
She's not with Jack anymore.
Yeah.
Jack was a bitch.
Fuck Jack. I mean, I knew that relationship with Jack had a fucking
don't have sex with billionaires.
Yeah, guys, stop fucking billionaires because it makes them feel like they're doing something right. What I'm really trying to say is everybody should stop having sex with Ted Lasso. Or not Ted Lasso.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk or who's the Amazon prick?
Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos. Yeah. Sorry, Ted. Everyone should have sex with Ted Lasso. Everyone should have sex with Ted Lasso. Including Sassy as much as humanly possible. Get the Marlboro Man laid. Let's go. We can do this. But everybody should stop having sex with Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and all those pricks.
And Jack.
And Jack sucks. I knew that relationship was doomed just because it's not Roy, but also there was just something about Jack that
and to have that much money, like to have the fuck we talked about it, to have you fuck you money.
Yeah.
You have to not be a good person.
Yeah. And man, she was so close to being good. She was so close to making that episode alive. Also, we had a nice shining moment from Will, the Kit Man. Which, by the way, I looked this up because I couldn't remember the guy's name for a sec. Do you know what Will's full name is credited in the show?
No.
Will Kitman. Well, Kitman. Will Kitman, the Kitman. Not kidding. That's what he's credited as. That's the moment. That's the moment. That's what I'm ending. That's what I'm ending this review on. Is Will Kidman the Kit Man? Love the episode. We've only got a couple episodes left this season. We're down to our last 3 episodes. Anything can happen from here because at this point, I'm done trying to predict where the season's going because I've been wrong every single fucking time. Loved
Ryan
it.
Keeley, get back together.
They fucking better. I am gonna be so mad. We'll see. We'll want to know what you guys think. So make sure you let us know down in the comments. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys again here next time on Off the Wall. Bye. I love you, Soul.
Love you.
Oh, you're not supposed to say it back. We're doing the bit.
I'm female, so I can.
That's right. Damn it. Okay. You say it to me.
You need Bogz here for that.
Bogz here. I do need Bogz.
Love you, Mike.
I love you too. See, I'm too much of a romantic. I can't fucking say it now. God.